Every man is born with a weapon more dangerous than any blade, more powerful than any army. But almost no one learns to master it. They feed it junk, they let it wander, they let it whisper lies. And one day, they become its slave. That weapon is the mind. It doesn't need steel to kill you. It can break you with doubt. It can freeze you with fear. Or, if you master it, it can make you move like thunder and strike like lightning. But here's the truth. If you don't command your mind, someone else will. Your greatest power will turn into your greatest enemy, and you won't even see it coming. So the question is not, are you strong? The real question is, are you still in control? 1. Train your brain like a blade, not a muscle. Most people believe that strength is something you build in your body. They chase big arms, heavy lifts, loud power, but they miss the truth completely. Real strength, the kind that wins wars before they start lives in your mind. Your brain is your true weapon, and it must be trained like a blade, not like a muscle. A muscle can grow bulky and slow. A blade must stay lean, sharp, and precise. A blade doesn't rely on force, it relies on accuracy, timing, and silence. It strikes once, cleanly, without hesitation. That's how your mind must work. It must cut through chaos. It must slice through confusion. When the world throws fear, noise, and distraction at you, your mind must remain still, focused only on the target. But most people let their minds get fat, bloated with doubt, cluttered with drama, busy chasing every shiny thing. They consume too much social media, too many opinions, too many voices. And a bloated mind is a dull blade, useless in real battle. If you want to become a walking weapon, you must strip your mind of everything that weakens it. Remove the noise, eliminate distractions, learn to sit in silence. Study your thoughts like a warrior studies his sword. Sharpen them every day. Hone them until they are clean, fast, and accurate. The mind, like a blade, must be respected. If you leave it unattended, it rusts. If you feed it junk, it bends. But if you train it properly, it becomes deadly. You don't need to shout. You don't need to show off. You simply exist with power. Calm, still, dangerous. So remember this. In a world of loud mouths and shaky hands, be the silent blade. Be the mind that sees clearly. Because one day when everything falls apart around you, it won't be your muscles that save you, it'll be your mind. And if you trained it well, you won't flinch, you'll strike. 2. Make pain your instructor, not your enemy. Most people run from pain like it's a curse. The moment something hurts physically, mentally, emotionally, they stop. They pull back. They complain. They blame the world, or worse, they blame themselves. But listen to me. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. And if you keep avoiding it, you'll stay weak for the rest of your life. When I trained, I didn't fear pain. I studied it. I welcomed it like a lesson from a master. Every ache, every bruise, every moment my body screamed was a message. Here is where you're weak. Here is where you must grow. Pain doesn't lie to you. It exposes you. It shows you what still needs discipline, what still lacks control, what still fears. But most people never learn this because they run from discomfort. They believe growth comes from ease, from comfort, from safety. That's an illusion. Comfort is where your edges begin to rot. Pain is where your strength begins to form. When you hit that wall, when your lungs are burning and your mind says stop, that is the moment you meet your real self. Will you give in to weakness or will you rise through the fire? That moment is a gift, because that's where warriors are made. Not in the comfort zone, in the crucible. You must learn to look pain in the eye and say, teach me. Don't waste your energy complaining about how hard it is. Ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? Is it patience? Endurance? Focus? Maybe it's showing you that you're mentally soft, and that's a lesson worth knowing. Because now, you can fix it. There's a dangerous lie in this world that says you must always feel good, always be happy, always be comfortable. That's how weak men are made. If you avoid pain, you avoid mastery. If you avoid pain, you avoid truth. And a warrior who avoids truth is already lost. So next time you feel the burn, the heartbreak, the setback, don't cry. Don't complain. Don't run. Stand still. Breathe deep. And say to yourself, good. This is pain. This is training. This is how I get stronger. Pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Only those who walk through it with their eyes open become unstoppable. 3. Create a mental kill switch. There comes a time in every warrior's life when thinking becomes the enemy. Yes, thinking. Because overthinking is not intelligence, it's hesitation in disguise. And in battle, hesitation is death. You don't have time to debate, to weigh options, to wait until you feel ready. The enemy will not wait. The challenge will not wait. Life will not wait. That's why I train my mind to build what I call a mental kill switch. A silent command buried deep in the brain that triggers immediate, unstoppable action without doubt, without fear, without delay. It's the difference between a man who flinches and a man who finishes. You see, most people wait for confidence before they move. They wait to feel calm. They wait for the perfect plan. But life is not polite aid. It doesn't give you that luxury. If you train yourself to hesitate, you train yourself to lose. But if you train yourself to flip the kill switch, to act without thought, when it's time then, you become something else entirely. A force, a presence, a weapon. The kill switch is not about rage. It's not blind aggression. It's calm execution. A blade doesn't scream. When it cuts, it just cuts. In the same way, your body should move before fear even finishes its sentence. There is no time for second guessing. When you see the opportunity, you go. No, what if? No, maybe later. No, I'm not sure. You strike. But this kind of reflex doesn't come naturally. It must be built every day. You must train your mind to bypass the noise and respond with precision through repetition, through pressure, through ritual. It starts in the smallest things. Wake up when you said you would. Do the task when it's hardest. Speak the truth when it's scariest. You build trust in your mind not by reading books, but by keeping promises to yourself. And here's the most powerful truth. The kill switch only activates in the minds of those who have disciplined themselves. You can't fake this. You can't talk your way into power. You must earn it. Through sweat, through silence, through struggle, until action becomes your nature and hesitation dies inside you. Think of every great fighter, every elite warrior, every master of any craft. They all share one thing. They don't freeze. When the moment comes, they move instinctively, boldly, without apology, because their kill switch is always ready. So if you want to become a walking weapon, don't just train your body, train your response. Create that kill switch. Build it through fire. Trust it with your life. Because one day, when the storm comes and the world around you panics, you will be the one who acts without fear, without thought, with purpose. And in that moment, you will not just survive, you will dominate. 4. Delete the concept of enough. Enough is one of the most dangerous words in human language. It sounds soft. It sounds comforting, but that's what makes it so deadly. Because the moment you tell yourself, I've done enough, you begin to rot from the inside. You start slowing down, making excuses, losing your edge, and soon, your weapon, your mind, your body, your spirit goes dull. When I trained, there was no such thing as enough. No matter how many hours I put in, how fast I became, how sharp my strikes were, there was always another level to unlock. Because life isn't a finish line you cross, it's a fire that demands fuel. And if you stop feeding it, it dies. Understand this clearly. The greatest enemy of greatness is comfort. The moment you feel satisfied, you're in danger. The moment you say, I'm good now, your ambition starts to fade. Your discipline begins to relax, your hunger weakens. You begin to coast, and coasting is a silent fall. You may not feel it immediately, but time will show it. And by then, it may be too late. Society praises balance. Balance is good for machines. But you're not a machine, you are a living, breathing, evolving force. You were not made for just enough. You were not built to meet the minimum. That's what the crowd does. That's what the average seek. But you're here to become a walking weapon. And a weapon that settles will rust. This mindset of enough is what holds people back. They read one book and think they're wise. They train for 1 year and think they've mastered the craft. They hit one goal and start celebrating like it's the end of the road. But the real warriors, the ones who shake the world, they're still grinding long after everyone else has gone home. Not because they hate peace, but because they respect potential. They know how much more is possible, and they're not afraid to chase it. If you want to become inhumanly strong, if you want to reach a level where the world cannot touch you, you must delete that word from your brain. There is no I've done enough. There is only what's next. There is only where can I push harder. Even on your best day, you ask, how can I make this better? Even at your peak, you say, this is just the beginning. Now, some people will hear this and say, it's too much. They'll say, you have to rest. You have to slow down. And yes, rest is part of the process. But there's a difference between rest and retreat. Rest is fuel. Retreat is fear. You rest to reload. You do not rest to hide. And let me tell you something most people will never understand. You don't become great by accident. You don't become untouchable by chance. You become it by refusing to settle. By burning with a desire to see how far you can go. By killing the voice that says, you've done enough. So the next time that voice creeps in, when your mind whispers, you can skip this, or you've already proven yourself, you shut it down. You remind yourself, a weapon never retires. A warrior never stops sharpening. And I am not finished. Keep going. Push further. Dig deeper. And when they ask you why, just smile and say, because I don't believe in enough. I believe in more. More strength. More clarity. More mastery. Because the day you settle is the day you start dying. 5. Become emotionless in execution, not in heart. Too many people misunderstand what it means to be powerful. They think being strong means being cold. Being fearless means being numb. Being unstoppable means cutting off their emotions. That's not power. That's disconnection. That's not a weapon. It's a machine without purpose. When I fight, I do not hesitate. I do not tremble. My strikes are clean, fast, efficient, emotionless in execution. But that doesn't mean I've killed my heart. It means I've trained it. I've mastered it. I've built the ability to separate my emotions from my actions, not to destroy them, but to use them wisely. A true warrior doesn't erase feeling. He channels it. He turns grief into wisdom. He turns anger into fire. He turns fear into awareness. He doesn't walk around dead inside pretending to be invincible. He feels everything. He just doesn't allow those feelings to control his movements. Weak people wear their emotions on their sleeves. They react to every insult, every failure, every little storm. Someone disrespects them, they explode. Someone doubts them, they break down. Their hearts are full, but their minds are untrained. That is not strength. That is volatility. And volatility is weakness. Real strength is found in stillness. When your mind is calm, your spirit becomes like deep water. You see clearly. You respond deliberately. When others scream, you stay silent. When others panic, you breathe slower. You don't react, you choose. And that makes you dangerous. But don't make the mistake of becoming a stone. Don't kill the part of you that feels joy, sorrow, love, or connection. Because those are not flaws, they're gifts. The world tries to make you pick. Be strong or be sensitive. But I tell you, be both. Be a sword wrapped in velvet. Be a storm held within a still lake. Love with intensity. Fight with clarity. You see, emotions are like fire. Left uncontrolled, they'll burn your house down. But with discipline, they'll cook your food, warm your soul, and light your path. A warrior doesn't fear his emotions. He respects them. He listens. But when it's time to move, he moves without emotion clouding the strike. Let me give you a truth very few understand. When you detach emotion from your execution, you strike with purity. No ego, no anger, just presence, just purpose. That's why I never fought for revenge. I never trained to prove others wrong. I trained to master myself. Because if your actions are fueled by wounded emotions, you'll never rise above your pain. You'll just keep repeating it in louder forms. So yes, feel deeply, but act wisely. Feel love, but don't let it blind you. Feel fear, but don't let it stop you. Feel rage, but don't let it poison your aim. Keep your heart open, but your hands steady. Because in battle, the one who stays centered is the one who wins. And remember, being emotionless in execution doesn't make you less human. It makes you more aware, more precise, more free. You are not a robot. You are not a slave to emotion. You are something greater. A soul with a steady hand. A heart with a disciplined mind. 6. Rewire reality. Everything is training. Most people believe training only happens in the gym, only on the mat, only when you're sweating, counting reps, or practicing a move. That's why they stay average. Because their growth is limited to one room, 1 hour, one routine. But I'll tell you something that changed my life forever. Everything is training. Every second, every breath, every moment you're alive. When you truly understand this, the world becomes your dojo. Life stops being random and starts becoming a personal battlefield of discipline, awareness, and evolution. Every interaction becomes a test. Every failure becomes feedback. Every silence becomes an opportunity to sharpen the blade of your focus. When I walk down the street, I train. I observe. I watch how my body moves, how people react, how the environment shifts. When I eat, I train. I watch my breath, my posture, the rhythm of my thoughts. When I speak, I train. I choose my words like strikes gleam, precise with purpose. I don't switch on and off. I live in the discipline. I breathe the art. That's the difference between a student and a master. The student waits for training. The master never stops it. People say they don't have time to train, but that's because they haven't rewired their brain. They haven't realized that the traffic jam is training their patience. That rude customer is testing their emotional control. That injury is testing their mental adaptability. Even your failures, those moments where everything falls apart, especially those are your greatest lessons in disguise. The mind is plastic. It can be molded, it can be rewired, but only if you remain present. If you keep treating life like a series of random events, you miss the opportunity to evolve. But if you start looking at everything as part of your training, suddenly you become unstoppable. You're no longer waiting for the gym to open. You're not relying on motivation or routines. You become your own teacher, and the world becomes your constant curriculum. I trained my brain to see challenge in everything. The wind blowing, resistance, the heat, endurance, the noise around me, focus under pressure, the insult, training my ego to stay quiet, the pain in my body, my awareness dialing into areas that still need work. Everything counts. Nothing is wasted. When you live like this, every moment sharpens you. This is how you build an inhuman mindset. Not by doing more, but by doing everything with intention, with purpose, with the mind of a warrior. It starts small. Next time you feel yourself bored, train your attention. Next time you're angry, train your breath. Next time you're sitting in silence, train your presence. Over time, your brain starts to shift. It starts to recognize there is no off switch. The dojo is everywhere. And your mind becomes forged, not just by discipline, but by awareness. That is the secret no one talks about. True strength isn't just physical, it's perceptual, it's mental, it's spiritual, and it's built when you no longer need to be told when to train. You just live the training. So rewire your reality. Stop waiting. Stop separating life and growth, because everything is training. Everything. And when you understand that, you stop needing to prepare for battle. You become the battle. You are the weapon. Always ready. Always learning. Always getting sharper, even in stillness, even in chaos. 7. Tap into the animal that watches you. In silence, there is something inside you. It's not the version of you that speaks politely, dresses well, or follows rules. It's not the part that cares what people think. No, this part is older than thought. It existed before language, before fear, before shame. It is wild. It is silent. It is pure instinct. And most people spend their whole lives burying it. But I didn't. I found it. I trained it. And I let it rise. This primal force inside you, it's not chaos. It's clarity. It's not violence. It's presence. It is the version of you that sees through lies, that moves without hesitation, that knows the truth in your bones long before your brain catches up. It's the part of you that stands up when everyone else kneels. The part that doesn't blink when the danger comes. The part that doesn't flinch because it knows most people have forgotten this part of themselves. They become too civilized, too programmed, too distracted. They trade instinct for approval. They trade strength for comfort. But deep inside, the animal still watches, quietly, waiting. And when you're ready to remember, it will rise. But here's the truth. You can't just release this force. If you do that without discipline, you become a danger to others and to yourself. You become unpredictable, emotional, reckless. That's not a warrior, that's a weapon without a purpose. That's why I trained the animal inside me. I gave it structure. I taught it restraint. I gave it direction. You must master it, not destroy it. You see, the animal is not evil, it's pure. It doesn't lie, it doesn't pretend, it doesn't wear masks. It responds with truth. And in battle, in hardship, in the moments where everything around you is shaking, that part of you is the only one you can trust. Because it doesn't need motivation. It doesn't need inspiration. It just moves. But to access it, you must go to war with everything that silenced it. The fear of judgment, The fake smile, the desire to be liked, the stories you were told about what's possible for you. Burn it all down. Then go inward. Find the place in you that is still, that watches, that knows. This is not about becoming an animal. It's about remembering you already are one. And more importantly, it's about becoming the kind that's disciplined, controlled, silent. The kind of force that doesn't need to roar to be feared. The kind that walks into a room and everything changes. The problem with this world is not that people are too wild. It's that they've become too tame. And when a person forgets their primal power, they become lost, passive, easily broken. But when they remember, when they awaken that inner presence and guide it with purpose, they become something more than human. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove anything. You just move with certainty, with truth, with presence so strong, even chaos becomes calm around you. Tap into that force, train it, control it, let it walk with you, not to hurt others, but to protect your peace, your vision, your path. That's what I did. I didn't try to fit in. I didn't try to be acceptable. I became something ancient, something clear, something unbreakable. So I ask you now, when life tests you, when fear rises, when the world pushes against you, will you retreat back into the soft version of yourself? Or will you awaken, the silent animal that's been watching, waiting, and remember who you are? Because when you do, you won't need to act strong. You will simply be strong, unshakable, unapologetic, and alive in the deepest, truest sense of the word. 8. Destroy the lie that you need permission. Let me tell you something no one else will say out loud. You don't need permission to become powerful. Not from your parents, not from your teachers, not from your friends, your boss, your society, or your past. You don't need the world to clap for you before you rise. You don't need approval to begin. You don't need to be invited to your own greatness. You already have access. The only thing in your way is the belief that you're supposed to wait. And that belief is a lie, a virus, planted deep inside your mind from the time you were young. You were trained to raise your hand, ask nicely, wait your turn, be chosen, be accepted, be good. And while some of those things serve order, they also quietly kill power. Because real power does not wait. It decides, it moves, it speaks when others are silent. It acts when others hesitate. It creates when others seek permission. When I was young, I was told I'd never make it, that I was too foreign, too small, that my accent was wrong, that my way of fighting didn't belong in movies, that I should follow the system. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I built myself anyway. I didn't ask, am I allowed? I asked, what's stopping me? And the answer was always the same. Only me. You must understand this. The world won't give you a green light. If you wait for it, you'll rot at the starting line. If you wait for confidence, you'll grow old watching others live your life. Confidence is not something you're given, it's something you generate by acting without it. You move first, and the confidence follows. Every master you admire started with nothing but a decision. Not a perfect plan, not a cheer squad, not permission, just a decision to move, to become, to create. And through action, they found their voice. Through failure, they found their path. Through rejection, they found resilience. You want to become a walking weapon? Then stop asking for validation. Stop looking over your shoulder, waiting for someone to say, now you're ready. You decide when you're ready. That moment can be no if you choose it. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Let them ignore you. Good. That means you're on the right track. Because the moment you stop chasing permission, you become dangerous. You become unpredictable. You become a force that no one saw coming because they were too busy looking for someone to crown while you were busy building your throne. This is your life, your fight, your mountain. And no one is going to carry you to the top. You must climb. You must bleed. You must rise without applause. And that's where your strength is born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where no one sees the work but you. So ask yourself right now, what would I do if I didn't need permission? Who would I be if I stopped apologizing for wanting more? How would I live if I believed, deep in my bones, that I was already enough to begin? Because the truth is, you are. The world will catch up later. Or not. Doesn't matter. Stop asking. Start becoming. And when they finally look at you with shock and say, "How did you do it?" Smile and say, "I stopped waiting." 9. Turn solitude into your superpower. Most people fear being alone. They treat silence like a punishment. They fill every quiet moment with noise, music, chatter, scrolling, distractions. Why? Because being alone forces you to face something terrifying. Yourself. But I'll tell you this, if you never learn how to be alone, you'll never learn who you really are. And you'll never become truly strong. You see, solitude is not emptiness. It's amplification. It's where all the noise of the world finally fades. And you hear the voice underneath, the one that's been whispering the truth all along. In solitude, you stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop chasing what others want for you. And for the first time, you see your own reflection, raw and unfiltered. This is where power begins. Not in crowds, not in applause, not in being surrounded, but in being centered with no one around. Because if you can be alone with yourself and still stand tall, you are dangerous. You are free. When I trained, I didn't need people watching. I didn't train for the camera. I trained when no one was clapping, when no one cared, when it was just me, my body, my breath, and the fire inside me that refused to go out. I found peace in the repetition, strength in the silence. I didn't run from being alone, I ran to it, because that's where I built the mind that couldn't be broken. But here's the truth. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. Loneliness is when you don't like the company you keep in your own mind. Solitude is when you master that company, when your thoughts become clear, your vision sharpens, your emotions settle. That's when the mind becomes a weapon. The world will try to make you fear solitude. It will tell you that being alone means being unloved, unsuccessful, unworthy. But I tell you, solitude is the sanctuary where warriors are forged. It's the place where distractions die and discipline is born. Look at every master, every legend, every unstoppable human being. At some point, they all disappeared for a while. They stepped back. They went inward. They became quiet. And in that quiet, they transformed. Because growth doesn't always happen in noise. It often begins in stillness. You want to build a mindset that can't be broken? Learn to sit in silence. Learn to feel discomfort without reaching for escape. Learn to study yourself like a book, page by page, truth by truth. Because when you know yourself, no one can manipulate you. When you trust yourself, no one can break your focus. When you master yourself, no one can take your power. Solitude is where clarity is born. It's where your real identity surfaces, not the mask, not the role, not the performance, but the core, the force, the one beneath it all. That version of you doesn't need applause, doesn't need validation, doesn't need the crowd. That version walks alone but never feels alone. And once you've touched that place, once you've felt what it's like to be full without needing anyone, no one can take that away from you. You become calm in chaos. still in storms, focused while others drown in distraction. So don't run from solitude. Don't fill the silence. Sit in it. Breathe in it. Become familiar with the weight of your own presence. Because when you learn to love your own company, the world loses its power to control you. Solitude isn't weakness, it's strength without noise. Solitude isn't absence, it's presence without interruption. Solitude isn't emptiness, it's where the real you begins to speak. And when that voice rises, clear and undeniable, you will no longer need to chase anything because you are the force you were searching for. 10. Become the storm that doesn't flinch. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid the storm. They run from difficulty. They dodge discomfort. They fear the thunder, the lightning, the chaos that life sometimes throws without warning. But here's the truth. You will never become powerful by avoiding the storm. You must become the storm itself. What do I mean by that? I mean, you must build yourself into something so steady, so grounded, so internally anchored that no matter how violent the winds get outside, you don't flinch, you don't panic, you don't move. You stand your ground while the world shakes. That is true strength, not just force, but control. Not just speed, but stillness under pressure. People think being a warrior means always fighting, but the greatest warriors don't fight every battle. They outlast the storm. They don't react emotionally to every threat. They don't lose themselves trying to fix everything around them. They stay centered because they've trained for it. When life hits, most people scream, "Why me?" But a true warrior whispers, "Try me." Because they've prepared for the rain. They've prepared for the fire. They've prepared for everything to fall apart and still move with clarity, with strength, with peace. That's not luck. That's inner discipline. That's hours, days, years of building mental and emotional resilience. You don't get that from motivation. You get that from practice, from pushing yourself when you're tired, from choosing growth when it's inconvenient, from staying present when the world begs you to lose focus. It means mastering your breath when anxiety rises. It means controlling your tongue when anger explodes inside you. It means making hard decisions without needing applause. It means standing alone, sometimes misunderstood, sometimes doubted, but standing anyway. Becoming the storm doesn't mean you become violent or cruel. It means you become a force of nature. You don't get rattled by opinions. You don't fold under pressure. You don't shrink when things get hard. You risen not just with power, but with purpose. Most people are like leaves in the wind blown around by emotions, fears, and circumstances. But you must be the mountain in the storm. Solid, grounded, unmoving. You don't just survive difficulty, you command it. You don't just handle stress, you harness it. When the chaos rises, people will look to you. And not because you're the loudest, not because you're the most aggressive, but because you're the calm one, the still one, the one who doesn't flinch when everything's burning. Because you are the fire. Understand this. The storm will always come. In life, in business, in relationships, in your own mind. And you don't get to choose when, but you do get to choose who you become in it. Will you become frantic, emotional, defeated? Or will you stand still with fire in your eyes and say, I've been waiting for this. You must train for that moment. Prepare for it now. Because in the end, it's not about how strong you are when everything is going well. It's about how unshakable you are when it all falls apart. Become the storm, not to destroy, but to endure, to protect, to lead, to win, in silence, with precision, without ever needing to raise your voice. Because power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply doesn't flinch. You've now been given the tools, the truths, the mindset of a walking weapon. Not one built just by fists or muscles, but by stillness, clarity, and inner command. The weak seek comfort. The average chase approval. But you were made for something greater. Every lesson you've heard was not just for knowledge, it was a mirror. A mirror to show you what's always been inside. Strength, discipline, fire, not the kind that burns out, but the kind that burns through. You don't need to be told what to do anymore. You already know. What's left now is to act. But hear me clearly. The path ahead is not easy. You will be tested. You will be doubted. You will have moments where your mind whispers, go back, give up, you're not ready. And in those moments, you must remember what you've learned here. You must remember who you've become. You must become the blade sharp, silent, and unshakable. You must become the fire disciplined, focused, and controlled. You must become the storm calm, unmovable, and deeply rooted. You must become the animal alive, aware, but guided by principle. And above all, you must never forget, you don't need permission. You don't need applause. You don't need the world to believe in you. You just need you, fully awake, fully committed, fully present. The time for waiting is over. The world doesn't need another follower. It needs a force. It needs you. Now go, walk like a weapon, live like fire, and let the world feel your presence without you ever needing to say a word.